Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to VHS. I'm your host, Jesse, and I'm super psyched for Deadpool and Wolverine coming out next week. Are you psyched for Deadpool? I know you're psyched for Deadpool and Wolverine coming out. But what are we going to do until we get there? Well, if you're a fan of the channel, if you've been here before, you know we like to celebrate the things in the world of the movies that are coming out, movies that we love, movies we remember. And today, we're celebrating the lead up to Deadpool and Wolverine with a little look back at the X-Men movies to date. Tier list form. Let's jump into it. One honorable mention, I'm noting that this tier list does not include the New Mutants film, which was made, remade, released, not released, finally came out, and was a solid D. So if you can imagine, how do I poke? My hand's going to D for New Mutants. Not the worst. There will be worse on this tier list. We're starting with the OG set of 3 X-Men movies. And that means we're starting with 2000's X-Men. This is a very good movie. I know that in the span of where we've gone with Marvel superheroes, they've gotten super elaborate. Nothing's really going to stand up to the feeling of Endgame or No Way Home. It got to an insane degree, but you have to remember back in 2000, we had nothing. We didn't even have the first Spider-Man movie yet. So all we had was a world of intellectual property, comic book material ready to go, and we weren't sure if it was going to happen. Bryan Singer is a terribly problematic filmmaker, and I do not support that dude. X-Men #1 goes right in the A tier, the head of the class in the A tier. I'm going to save S tier because I think even though my nostalgia for this one, my love for this one, everything it did to set up the entire franchise, to set up the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, by the way, the success of this first one. So it gets an A for me. Now we immediately are going to jump up to the S tier because X2, X-Men United, comes out a couple years later, and listen, this could have been the one that had backlash flying in the face of the comic book movies. It could have been like, this is all it's gonna be? Nah, darn it, we're just starting and now it's over. But the opposite happened. X2 came out and is still in the discussion for one of the best superhero movies ever made. We get Nightcrawler in X2. Alan Cumming is awesome as Nightcrawler. X2 is easily, I don't know if anything's going to top X2. Let's see what happens. It's not going to be this next one. I don't know if it's worth going all the way to the bottom already. I don't know. I don't know if anything can go all the way to F for me. We're going to plant this solidly in D, and I may change my mind. I feel icky even raising it that high. X-Men: The Last Stand. Bryan Singer is a, like I said, terribly problematic filmmaker. Brett Ratner is also a problematic filmmaker, but also not good at his job. Brett Ratner was more concerned with chasing the "I'm the Juggernaut bitch" meme than he was at any actual development for these characters. Multiple Man gets thrown away as like a joke bad guy. And the climax is throwing cars. We all remember, we watched the first 2 movies, we're like, man, they're really getting to know how to use these powers in a complex way that serves the characters and serves the journey of the movie that we're watching. Get to The Last Stand, and Magneto's like, I'm gonna rip off part of this bridge. Can't nobody get to us except a lot of us can fly. They just didn't do it. To the point where the emotional moment at the end, where Wolverine, all spoilers, of course, is old movie, Wolverine has to shank Jean to save the day. Damn it. We wanted it to be so resonant. We wanted it to be big, but the movie had ruined it. Sad times. But happy times were soon to be around the corner. We're not going to forget the chronological. We're just going to stay with our groups right here. Sticking with now the X-Men secondary franchise that begins with, of course, First Class. First Class is an A. First Class was like, oh, we're going to be okay. McAvoy, Fassbender, we got real actors. We had real actors before. Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen were real actors. We cast real young actors. They were really investing. This is going to be real. And we don't even need to stay with our problematic filmmakers until later. For right now, we're going to get Matthew Vaughn coming off working on Layer Cake, right? All those Guy Ritchie movies. He produced the Guy Ritchie movies. Now he's stepping out on his own. X-Men First Class is fantastic. So let's move on to, Days of Future Past. Man, Days of Future Past is an A for me. I know we're kind of circling the drain a little bit in the franchise here. Wolverine's going back in time. But ultimately, we got to see the future, and the future was so cool with the crazy Sentinel attacks and everything they can do. Blink was there. There's so many cool characters in the future. There's very little to complain about. I think we all felt like, man, we're in good hands. Because also, what do we get in Days of Future Past for the first time? Quicksilver. We get the first Quicksilver sequence where he's running around, they're underground in that kitchen area, and the music is awesome, and the effects of this Quicksilver were way better than the ones they had in Avengers. I think the internet will go ahead and agree with me on that. The Avengers version of Quicksilver was half-baked as far as the effects and how that was going to look, and it was just like a little wispy ghost, little ghost. Not this. We go in the moment with Quicksilver, changed everything for what we thought, okay, the care going into this, we thought this is what's really possible. And then it honestly is a D, you guys. This might be a very polarized franchise. X-Men Apocalypse was so bad. And you know Fox was feeling confident because they brought back problematic director Bryan Singer. And I don't know what Singer thought he was going to do. He didn't do much. The trailer was awesome. Remember being in the trailer and you're seeing McAvoy laying on the floor and Apocalypse is all growing and you're like, they're doing Apocalypse. We've been thinking about this since the 90s X-Men cartoon, or earlier if you grew up reading the comics. Here we go. And Apocalypse is a big nothing. He's a big nothing. In one of his first scenes, he like blends someone into a wall of bricks and kills them. And you're like, the powers are insane with this guy. There's no way we have a chance to stop him. Except in the final battle, it's just going to be a beam struggle. It's just going to be one of those beam struggles. You know, the kids are kind of beaming him. He's kind of beaming the kids. Magneto's involved. Then came Dark Phoenix. They made another one. And weirdly, it's better than Apocalypse. It actually can jump up into C. It gets a little dark in ways that they really hadn't bothered with the franchise up until this point. If anything, I'm giving it a C because it helped us end that line. And we knew it was done. They finally killed Mystique. Whoop-de-doo. I said spoilers, right? So anyway, I'll jump that one up to C just because there were some consequences and it got a little more intense. But to be honest, it was sort of a fart in the wind to end this tough second life of this franchise. Okay, but you think that's bad? This might be the only F. X-Men Origins Wolverine. Does anything really deserve an F? I mean, it's still X-Men. We're still having fun. It can go at the bottom of D. But we all know why this is terrible. The real reason this is terrible is one of the reasons we're so excited to be celebrating Deadpool and Wolverine now. This was almost the death of Deadpool before it even got started. Ryan Reynolds says yes to appear as Deadpool in this franchise because he's been trying to get that started ever since Van Wilder. Like, as soon as he became a movie star of any regard, everyone knows Ryan Reynolds was like, I'm Deadpool. I'm the Merc with a mouth. I can make this happen. No one believed it. No one believed in an R-rated superhero movie. So they're like, here's how we do it. We're going to just hook your wagon onto the whole Wolverine thing because this thing's just going to just be printing money forever, man. We're never going to make a misstep with Wolverine. Until we did. There are a lot of problems. The direction is bad. We wasted Liev Schreiber as a pretty good Sabretooth, but like a more normal guy Sabretooth. We didn't need that. A lot of the other sidekick characters are whatever. There's like a quick shot of Storm as a baby in Africa. It was fan service. And then anybody remember this? The really horrible shot of Hugh Jackman looking at his claws in the mirror? But they're CGI. They couldn't just put the claws on. He's like, oh, claws rotating slowly. What a bummer. I think we all thought walking out of there, shoot, well, no more of these. Remember they had planned X-Men Origins Magneto. They were going to do more. This was the next wave. This was the next branch. And this thing like shot it right in the face. Almost got saved. Hold on. Don't get upset. I don't think it quite makes it to A, to be honest. It's not going to quite make it to A, but this is the Wolverine. The Wolverine did exactly what we needed at the time. It jumped the stakes up to an R-rated movie. Wolverine, R-rated violence in Japan. So this was a big factor in his story that we knew they would get to at some point if they could keep the franchise alive. And when they did, and they brought in James Mangold, who's a real director, I don't know, I almost, I'm not. Something's got to be in B, and the Wolverine's going to be in B. The one problem with the Wolverine is it's ultimately like if you're watching an anime series and they're like, we're coming out with a movie, and you're like, oh man, the movie's going to be so consequential. It's not, because it's not really part of the main series. The series is where all the consequences are going to happen. This is more just like a little bottle episode where, sure, we'll fight a bad guy. We're not going to die because this isn't that important to the whole story. And that's kind of what happens. But we're not going to watch a million of those. What we are going to watch a million times is our second S in the franchise so far. Logan. Logan is undeniably an S. Sort of like in the way we talk about Ryan Reynolds and his passion for bringing Deadpool to the screen, you could tell that Hugh Jackman had a real passion for wanting to complete Logan's story. Hard to do with a basically immortal superhero, but he wanted to find some resonant way to put an exclamation point on the end of this character's journey. And Logan is the one. Even with spoilers, I don't want to talk about it too much because it's so beautiful. The way they handle Professor X in this, the way they handle just a quick glimpse in what could be an alternate multiverse version of the Wolverine story. It's near perfect. So we're going to leave that up in S right there behind X2. Now we get to our friend the Merc with the mouth. We did a short on the test footage that leaked in 2014 and how that really started everything. So that thing deserves to be up here in the S tier. If I had a little graphic for that, the leaked test footage would be up here. We're nowhere without that. And I'm sure Ryan Reynolds didn't leak it himself. In any case, Deadpool number 1, we're going to go right behind X-Men in A. I think Deadpool and Wolverine has a real chance to jump up here and be a full-on S tier movie. The only thing keeping Deadpool down in A and not S is, watch it again, they are constrained to this small budget they have. And the story is very basic and very just circular. Bad thing happened to me, I'm kind of reliving it while I'm going after the bad guys who did it to me, and then we're done. But so fun. Everything we had been waiting for, and Ryan Reynolds delivered. The action delivers, the comedy delivers, the R-rated content delivered. And at the time, Deadpool 1 became the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. Which leads to, I'll go ahead and put bottom of the S, Deadpool 2. Now we're hitting the ground running. Starting to tease the idea of X-Force. Domino is a great addition. More Dopinder. There's just so much. I mean, Cable, Juggernaut. This is a franchise that's actually delivering, and still, by the way, not getting the biggest budget. Not going to get a Superman budget, not going to get an Endgame budget. But what they do, the addition of Josh Brolin, pretty much a perfect Cable. It's hard to deny how fun this one was. And now here we are. S tier. X2, Logan, Deadpool 2. Maybe you want to argue Deadpool 2 doesn't quite make it up into S tier, but I'm totally happy with having some representation for Deadpool up there in S. This A tier is still really good. The first X-Men from 2000, Deadpool, X-Men First Class, and X-Men of Days of Future Past. I will watch any of those over and over and over again. I got no problem sitting through those. That to me is an A tier movie. The B tier, the Wolverine. Nothing really wrong with the Wolverine, but ultimately, are we even still talking about it? Really? Like the way we talk about Logan or even the first Deadpool? I don't think it resonated with us as much. Still a solid movie, and if you haven't seen it, check it out, please. Down to the C tier. You don't need to check this out. Dark Phoenix differentiated itself, separated itself from the worst of this franchise because it did bother to go a little dark. We got a real character fatality, and it finally ended. But that's really this is like a C-. The D tier is just what it is, man. Oh, man. Apocalypse stinks. The Last Stand stinks. And X-Men Wolverine, guys, it was terrible. Should have been good. Was not. And there you have it. VHS presents the X-Men Big Screen Tier List. Let me know in the comments what I got wrong. I'm sure I missed on half of this for some of you. Let me know what I got right. Let me know how hyped you are for Deadpool and Wolverine coming out just next week. We'll have a review for it. We got a lot more X-Men and Deadpool content coming out. So stick with us. Get so hyped for this movie. Keep enjoying your summer and keep it here with us. We live here, only on VHS.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Oh, and please like and subscribe. Check out more of our videos. Leave a comment. Or don't. You do you.